Samantha and Mark had been together for nearly a decade, their marriage once filled with love, passion, and shared dreams. When they first met, Mark had been the kind of man who would move mountains for her. He was hardworking, loyal, and dedicated to building a stable future for both of them. Samantha had adored him, believing she had found her perfect partner. But as the years passed, their relationship changed. Mark became increasingly focused on his job, working late nights, missing dinner, and often too exhausted to engage in deep conversations. The warmth that had once defined their marriage was now replaced by cold routines and quiet nights filled with distance. Samantha never intended to betray him. At least, that's what she told herself when she first started confiding in Ryan, a colleague who made her feel seen again. He was charming, attentive, and always knew the right words to say. Unlike Mark, Ryan made her feel desired. The harmless conversations at work turned into text messages late at night, then coffee dates outside office hours, and eventually a passionate affair. Each time she met Ryan, the guilt gnawed at her, but the thrill overshadowed it. She told herself that what Mark didn't know wouldn't hurt him. Months passed, and Samantha continued living her double life, believing she had everything under control. But fate had other plans. The day she discovered she was pregnant, her world came crashing down. She sat in the bathroom, staring at the positive test in disbelief, her hands trembling. Her heart pounded as she tried to count the weeks, but deep down, she already knew the truth. There was no chance the baby belonged to Mark. Fear consumed her, but she convinced herself that keeping the secret was the only option. She told Mark about the pregnancy, forcing a smile as she watched his face light up with joy. He lifted her into his arms, kissing her forehead, whispering about how he had been waiting for this moment for so long. Samantha felt like the worst person in the world, but she couldn't bring herself to destroy his happiness. As the months passed, Mark doted on her, doing everything to make her comfortable. He planned for their child's future, decorated the nursery, and proudly told his family that he was finally going to be a father. Each act of love from him felt like a dagger to Samantha's heart, but she remained silent, hoping against hope that the baby would resemble him enough to avoid suspicion. The moment their son was born, her carefully built illusion shattered. Mark held the baby for the first time, his smile faltering as he studied the tiny face. Something was wrong. His excitement turned into confusion, then quiet dread. The baby had Ryan's features: his eyes, his nose, even the slight dimple on his cheek. Samantha felt her entire world crumbling as Mark slowly turned to her, his expression demanding answers. She broke down in sobs, unable to keep up the lie any longer. The truth spilled out between her tears, and with each word, she watched the light in Mark's eyes die. He didn't shout. He didn't throw things. He simply placed the baby back in her arms and walked out of the hospital room. The days that followed were filled with silence and distance. Mark refused to look at her, barely spoke a word, and when they finally sat down for the inevitable conversation, his voice was cold and hollow. He was filing for divorce. He wanted nothing to do with her or the child that wasn't his. Samantha begged for forgiveness, pleaded for another chance, but Mark was already gone. His love had been real, but so had her betrayal. The pain she had caused was irreversible. She turned to Ryan, hoping for some support, but he had already moved on, uninterested in taking responsibility. He had never wanted a serious commitment, and he certainly didn't want a child. He told her that she had made her own choices and would have to deal with the consequences alone. Left with nothing but regret, Samantha sat alone in the house that had once been a home filled with love. The walls that had echoed with laughter now felt like a prison of her own making. She had traded a lifetime of happiness for fleeting moments of passion, and in the end, she lost everything. The realization came too late. Some mistakes can never be undone, and some regrets last forever.